The Veterans Committee meets this weekend, considering 8 players for Hall of Fame induction. And you know what this Veterans Committee is going to be doing? It's going to be figuring out if they'd like to rationalize bad behavior. Take a look at the list. Most of the 8 players for their consideration have done things that will have to be excused if they are to be voted into the Hall of Fame. And they can do that. Clemens, Bonds, Palmeiro, Schilling, Bell, all great players. Some did performance-enhancing drugs. Some just don't play well with others. But I'd like to say something to the members of that committee. Take a look at the column on the right. How about instead of excusing bad behavior, you reward good behavior? Don Mattingly, Fred McGriff, Dale Murphy are also on your list. This is about granting an honor, the highest honor. Again, you can excuse bad behavior or reward good behavior. It's right there in front of you. Yesterday, we went through the case for Don Mattingly. Today, we show some Cooperstown Justice for Dale Murphy. Dale Murphy played 18 seasons. He didn't have a good season after the age of 32, and that's what's kept him out of the Hall of Fame. But I have news for everyone. A player's peak, except in rare exceptions and for users of performance-enhancing drugs, comes before then anyway. From 1982 to 1987, a full 6 seasons, Dale Murphy was the most productive hitter in baseball. Look at the rankings. In 6 years, he led both leagues, all of baseball. Runs created, total bases, home runs, run expectancy, win probability added. He was a plus base runner and a plus fielder, despite what the retroactive defensive metrics say, and the best hitter while playing center field, a defensive position. Murphy didn't just have good stats, meaning rate stats. He had volume. He was a dominant force in the time he was playing. Runs created is a volume stat. Dale Murphy, see this, 82 to 87, 967 games. He missed 3 games in 6 years. 3. So his production playing every single day puts him number 1, well ahead of even Wade Boggs, Raines, Eddie Murray, Mike Schmidt, and it's Dale Murphy way up on top. Murphy was also top 5 in total bases 7 times in his career. Not only that, he hit for volume, he was also a flat-out winning hitter. Sometimes even a top hitter doesn't get on the leaderboard for win probability added. It's not a completely fair stat. You get circumstances. But when you think Big Papi, think Dale Murphy. Both David Ortiz, Mr. Clutch, and Dale Murphy were number 1 in their league in WPA twice in their careers, and top 5 4 times, both identical. The Braves, they weren't a winning team in the 80s, but Dale Murphy, he was a winning player. He was the clutchiest hitter in the majors in his 6-year peak and for his career. One thing that hurts Murphy is his career WAR, which is 47. That is a bit below the normal range of 50 and up for a Hall of Famer. But realize that WAR from those days involves retroactive defensive WAR. They do the best they can. You have to try. But in Murphy's 8-year peak, he had a negative defensive WAR while, get this, winning 5 Gold Gloves. Makes no sense. Again, I know Gold Gloves can be handed out on reputation, but it's fair to think that Murphy's defense was somewhere between a bad defensive player and best center fielder in his league. So Murphy was a plus defender and a plus base runner as well. In his 8-year peak, Murphy stole 16 bases a year at a high success rate, didn't get caught much, and had an extra bases taken percentage of 53%. That's very high. Now, we've introduced the concept before. Hall of Fame voters have traditionally clung to longevity over peak performance. It came from a 1930s necessity. Career totals were about all they had back then. No baseball reference, no baseball encyclopedia. They didn't have year-to-year stats, let alone the ability to compare those stats to their peers year after year. Occasionally, a peak player would break through. We know them: Dizzy Dean, Sandy Koufax, Kirby Puckett, all elected to the Hall of Fame. Peak players without the longevity. It's happened, and you could put in more of that type of player. The players who were, say, the best player in their league for 3 to 4 years while not having that full decade of greatness. Now, plenty of people who resist this idea when I bring it up. They say, what are you going to do, BK? Put in every player who was the best player in his league for 4 years? And I say, yeah, that's what I'd like to do. It's a shorter list than you think, and Dale Murphy might be the best player in the bunch. Here's a quick list of position players who are peak Hall of Fame players. That peak has to be high, and there's not many who fit the bill. Position players, it's Dale Murphy, Don Mattingly, also on this ballot, Roger Maris, and quite recently, think of this, Buster Posey and Andrew McCutchen. That's the list. These players were the best players in their league for several years. For Maris, it was really only 2, and there was Mickey Mantle. Let's be reasonable. It's Mickey Mantle. He wasn't the best player in his league. But this isn't the hall of very good. These guys were great. These guys dominated just for a shorter period of time. The longer I study it, the more I move toward the peak player for the Hall of Fame. And again, with Murphy and Mattingly, you have 2 exemplary figures who honored baseball with their careers. The ballot, I think, is clear. You can excuse bad behavior. We do that a lot. Or you can honor good behavior.